Elokayaroi memeko Keli amato yoideko Eloikai aroi memeko Keli amato yoideko Elokayaroi memeko. Okay, so today we're going to learn Chinuch Kattan, and which is the introduction by the Alter Rebbe to the second book of the Tanya. The second book of the Tanya is called Shar HaYichud V'Emunah, which some translate as the portal of unification and faith. And there's 12 chapters in this book, the second book of the Tanya, and it's all about what does it mean? What is the mitzvah of faith? What do you believe in believing in God? Does the mitzvah of believing in God mean to believe that there is a God? What do you say?
Yeah.
But the obvious question is, as soon as you use the word mitzvah, that means that you believe that somebody is commanding it. So if somebody doesn't believe in God, and you tell him it's a mitzvah to believe in God, he's going to say, who said? Right? So to actually, to believe in God is not a mitzvah, because you either believe it or you don't believe it, right? So, but there is a mitzvah to believe in God. So it's the mitzvah is about is what the belief in God is about, right? So to believe that God is unique, that God is that God is a simple unity, etc. That's where you get into belief in God. In other words, when you're believing in things about Hashem that are beyond our understanding. But to believe that there's a creator, that's not an actual mitzvah, because you believe it or you don't, right? If you believe it not because somebody told you, right? So now, this little introduction to Shar Yichud V'Emunah is about education. Since you have a degree in education, it's good for you to learn it.
Yeah.
Okay? So, the very top of the page, it starts off, Likuti Amorim Chelik Sheni, the Alter Rebbe calls it Sefer Likuti Amorim, which means like an anthology. And also the first book of the Tanya is called Likuti Amorim. And he sort of like says it's a gathering of teachings from very important works. And he's not making a claim. He's not claiming to make any big chiddush, but the fact is that he is making a big chiddush. Hanikra b'shem Chinuch Kattan. The second book is called this introduction is called Chinuch Kattan. And Melukat mipis sofrim mipis sfarim and mipis sofrim ketoshei alyon nishmatam Eden. It's an anthology of teachings from scribes, sfarim books and scribes, people of the highest holiness. Their souls are in Gan Eden. מיוסד על הפרשה הראשונה של קריאת שמע, and it's based on the first parsha of the Shema, of Shema Yisrael. So he starts off with the introduction. Chanoch l'na'ar al pi darko gam ki yaskim lo yasur mimena. So Shlomo HaMelech says, educate the child in his way, so that when he'll be older, he won't depart from it. So the first part of the posuk makes sense. Educate the child on his level, right? A kid comes to school, grade 1. You want to teach him a little bit of math. So you don't start by teaching him calculus. You start with, multiplication, addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. But, so the first part of the verse makes sense. Educate the child on his level. But then the rest of the verse says, Gam ki yaskin lo yasu mimena, that when he'll be older, he also won't depart from it, right? So the question is, so what's so good about that? So let's say you grow up and you think that all there is to know about math is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and there's nothing else. So you're never going to know any algebra, you're never going to know any calculus, etc., etc. Like, that's not math. These 4 things that you learn in elementary school, that's just plain arithmetic, right? So if you educate the child in his way, that's important. But what do you mean to say that when he's going to be older, he won't forget it? So what? So you know how many people are walking around with a childish view of Judaism because all they got was they went to an elementary school that had just like barely 10 hours a week. Hello. So quick, we started, okay? So you taught the child. A lot of kids went to Jewish school. They got a very, very, very superficial education on Judaism. Comes by mitzvah or bat mitzvah, and they leave the Jewish schools. And you ask them, how was your Jewish education in comparison to the secular things that you learned? They're going to say it was childish, So you have to educate the child on his level. But if he's going to depart from it, so just afterwards put it back the way it was. Okay? I always do. So if he's going to grow up thinking that that's the way it is, so what's the big advantage? So mashma sheina derech haemet lamito. Right, educating the child is mashma. In other words, if you're educating him on his level, that means that you're not really teaching him the whole truth as it is. V'imkein, and if that's the case, my maluta, what's the advantage? Shigam ki askin lo yasum mimena. What's the advantage that when he's going to be older, he'll keep on thinking about it in a childish way? There's actually a discussion between the Rambam and the Ravid. When you're teaching children about God, is it permissible to describe God to a child like an old man with a big white beard in the sky watching what you're doing? When you were taught first about Hashem, do you remember, Malka?
About?
How you were taught about God?
Just that, like how to envision,
how
to envision him.
Yeah. So you had, I imagine that what do you remember? Do you remember it all?
Just that it was more like, maybe not a vision, just the fact that God created the world.
Okay, so the question is, are you allowed to, it's a serious question. How do you teach a child about God?
Right. I think all children have their...
So kids have this idea of like some great being in the sky that's watching over us, right? Invisible, but they still envision him in some way, right? And the question is, are you allowed to allow the child to have that vision? That question, if you're going to be good, Hashem is going to reward you, and if you're going to be bad, then you're going to be punished. And so you probably know that all the Jewish schools, especially like the Haredi ones, like kids are given candies every time that you say Amen, every time that you do a mitzvah, you get a candy and so on, right? And so a lot of kids end up with the idea that, oh, it's a good thing to do a mitzvah because you're going to get a candy, and hopefully somewhere along the line they're going to mature and enough to realize that it's not that Hashem is going to give you candies for doing mitzvahs, but somehow Hashem is going to reward you. But then the issue is, are you ever going to do a mitzvah beyond reward? A lot of the people who lost their faith in the Holocaust lost their faith because they had this exact idea about Hashem. They had this idea that if I'm going to be a good Jew, things will be good, and if not, things will be bad. But then the Holocaust didn't make sense. How can you? In other words, how do you explain 1 million children being murdered? How do you explain all the other people being murdered just because we were Jews? And what horrible things did anybody do that to explain that why so many people should be murdered? So if one has the attitude towards in the relationship with Hashem as a transactional relationship, like you do good, you get candies, you do bad, it gets taken away, or you get hurt. So that's a serious problem, because then you confront situations where things just don't make sense. So it's a serious question in Chinuch. Like, is it okay to give a child a candy because he did a mitzvah? Right? So we do it, right? With the realization that he's just a child, right?
That's what he needs.
And that's what he needs right now. He needs to have reward. Okay? When I first started teaching, and I had a grade 5 class, and I said to the kids, or grade 7 it was, I said, you know what, I'm not going to give you tests learning. So initially everybody was happy, but it broke down very fast, because by the time the kids were in grade 7, they were already so conditioned that there had to be tests. If there wasn't any tests, and I don't mean by tests, but they were so conditioned that they wanted to get marks. If they weren't going to get good marks, they didn't want to put in the effort. Right? So it's the same dilemma. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What do you call that kind of system?
It's the regular reward system. Reward, yeah.
Right. So, like as a child, it would be candy. When you get older, it might be exams.
Marks, right, and so on. But the dilemma is that once you take away once you step out of that, what's the person going to do? Okay. So there are people who, for example, they finish high school, they finish college, and they just love learning mathematics, and they keep on learning mathematics. They love learning history. They keep on learning history. They love learning, in a positive way. They love learning Torah. They keep on learning Torah, right? And then there's a lot of people that once they're out of the system, once they're not getting rewards of, passing the test, etc., they stop.
Is that because of the system of these people who do it? Some people on their own. Look for it on their own. Because partly because of the system, partly because of them.
Okay.
Because the way they grow up at home, not necessarily the education system.
Well, that's also part of the education system. Yeah, right.
That's true.
So, this is this question that Alter Rebbe raises is a springboard to what he's going into discussing, and then towards the end of this introduction, he'll only answer it at the end. Okay.
Where does he say that?
So I'm telling you.
Okay.
It's known כשורשי עבודת Hashem ויסודותיה, the roots of the service of God and His foundations, hein dechilu urechimu, the foundation of all your relationship with Hashem is fear and love. Dechilu and rechimu are two Aramaic words. Dechilu means fear, and rechimu means love. Now, fear and love is the foundation of anything that you relate with, right? You either are staying away from something or you're attracted to something, right? So, likewise, in your relationship with Hashem, fear and love are the two prime motivators in everything that you do. You read, so for example, he says, Hayira shorish v'yesod l'suv meira. You know the verse, suv meira v'asei tov, to turn away from bad and do good. So why should I turn away from bad? So the basic primal motivation for staying away from bad is because of fear of the consequences, right? V'ha'ava l'vasei tov. And love is the prime motivator for doing a mitzvah, for doing something good. Right? Somebody that you know or not?
No, young woman I never saw.
So ask her if maybe she wants my wife. What does she want? Oh, it's Shalhevet? בסדר, my granddaughter. לא, לא ידעתי מי נכנס, בסדר. למעלה. So, love is the motivator for doing a mitzvah. You love God, you do a mitzvah, right? You're afraid of God. You don't want to end up being shish kebab, so to speak, right? You don't want to get fried in heaven. So, Hashem says, don't eat a cheeseburger, so I don't eat a cheeseburger. As much as you might want it, you know, the consequences of eating a cheeseburger are not so funny, right? So, and love is the motivator to fulfill the mitzvot aseh, right? So fear is the motivator for the mitzvot lo taseh, the negative commandments, and love is the motivator for positive commandments, which are also rabbinical mitzvahs, both biblical and rabbinical mitzvahs. Kamoshi is ba'elim, kamanas will be explained in their proper place. And then he also says in parentheses, the mitzvah chinuch, the mitzvah of educating your children, higamken the mitzvah aseh is also one of the 613 mitzvahs. Kamoshi is ba'er ba'rachayim simen shimen gimel. So now, concerning love, K'tiv b'sof Parshat Ekev, it says at the end of Parshat Ekev, Asher anochi mitzaveh etchem le'asuta, do as I'm commanding you to do. And what am I commanding you to do? Li'ahava et Hashem, commanding you to love God. So we need to understand this. How could Moshe Rabbeinu use the word la'asuta to do it and speak about love at the same time? Love is something that you experience in your heart, right? And can you command someone to love? You can't command somebody to love, right? I order you to love. When I was head teacher at the school in Montreal, so at recess, every so often there would be, or sometimes a couple of kids would be sent down by the teacher because they were fighting. So I had a little bench in the waiting space outside my office. I would say to those kids, you're going to sit here until you become friends. So there's a lot of kids, like, they figured, okay, there's no point in, I'd rather go out and play. Okay, so let's finish the fight, and they'd make friends, and they'd go out and play. But sometimes you have, a couple of really smart kids, and like one of them once said to me, you can make me sit here forever, but you can't force me to love this guy. You can't force me to be friends with him. I don't like him. You can't force me. So that's the question that the Alter Rebbe is asking over here.
It's a good question, but it's a question. I think it's a question because
it is, yeah.
Because it says right after the Shema, after Hashem will come.
So that's what.
Is that a command?
Yeah.
How can we
that
showed other places where it's with Ekev, but also
right. So that's all also related. It's all related. Okay. So
we're told to rejoice on festivals. How do you be happy? We're told emotions to feel. How can be commanded to emotion?
It's a good question. That's what we're going to be discussing.
So you think you can't be, but it's in the Torah.
I heard.
That's the question.
Okay. So, but particularly, how does the word la'asot relate to ahava? So your question that you're raising is, can you be commanded to? Moshe Rabbeinu is not even talking about commanding; he's talking about doing it. Okay. So, Achayinyan hu please. Achayinyan hu diyeshne minei ahavat Hashem. There's two kinds of loving God. Ha'achati klota nefesh. One type of love of God is called klota nefesh. Klota nefesh means the expiring of the soul. Okay, that's what the word klot means. So, in other words, klot hanefesh b'tiva el mora, the natural expiring of the soul to her creator. In other words, as we've already learned a number of times, we have a nefesh bahamit, we have an animal soul, and we have a nefesh elokit, and we have a divine soul. And the nature of the divine soul, which is a chelik elokah mimal, which is an actual part of Hashem, the nature of the soul is that it wants to return to its source. Okay? So, the nature of the divine soul is that it doesn't want to be imprisoned in this body. Right? Somebody's at the door. If you remember, we learned one of our students, and we didn't know his name, but Judy's there.
I got there.
Judy's there, it's okay.
Good.
So the nature of the neshama is that you want to be with your source. Like an example is, why does light a match, no matter which way, or a candle, no matter which way you hold it, the flame is always going up. Mm-hmm. Right? Why is the flame always going up? Because the source of fire is the sun. Okay, and we're not getting into science now, right? But metaphorically, so the flame always goes upward because it wants to go back to its source. Okay. So the nature of the neshama is, and there's a part of your being is the divine soul. The divine soul. What's the greatest pleasure that you have? What is the greatest pleasure that your divine soul experiences? When you do something good, right? But in the meantime, the divine soul is imprisoned in the body, right? It doesn't have any choice but to be in the body, right? So the point is that your divine soul is actually in love with God. But how come you don't experience it? You don't experience it because it's in a state of exile, it's imprisoned in the body. Okay? Now, tzaddikim, or not only tzaddikim, but when your divine soul is kasher titkabel nefesh hasichlit al hachomer v'tashpileu v'tachnieu, when your intelligence soul is strengthened and it overpowers the materialism and it pushes it down and subjugates it and so when your divine soul overpowers your attractions to the physical world, so then, and to the point that your animal soul no longer has any power over your divine soul, so then azai titlahed b'shalhevet ha'olam me'eleha, so then the soul, so to speak, catches flame and gets excited and wants to rise like a flame that rises on its own, and it will rejoice and with Hashem, her creator, al Hashem, and it will have delight with God, ta'anud nifla, this awesome delight. I'll give you an example. You ever take chemistry? I remember I used to, in high school, I had one class in chemistry, and one day the teacher was showing us phosphorus. You know what phosphorus is? Some kind of substance. Now, phosphorus is kept in liquid because as soon as it's exposed to air, it catches fire. And he picks up a chunk of phosphorus with a pick and picks it up. And he says, now, if this is in the air long enough, it will burst into flame. And as he said the word flame, like it literally burst into flame, and there were bottles of acid on his desk and everything. And like, you know, at least what he did was he like started running away from the desk, and chunks of phosphorus were falling to the ground, and everybody in the class got up and we started stomping it and so on and put it out. And even as much as 3 days later, as soon as, like, you know, these little bits of phosphorus, once the dirt that covered them somehow got removed, you'd walk in the hall and all of a sudden you'd see a little burst of fire, okay? So that's an example that I'm using, is that the phosphorus when it's long as it's in the liquid, it's in a certain sense it's imprisoned there, right? But the nature of it is that as soon as it's exposed to the air, it just bursts into flame. Okay? The nature of the neshama is that if it's not held back by the body, by the animal soul, the nature of the neshama is it wants nothing more than to be in union with Hashem. It doesn't want to be here because it just, yeah. Can you imagine, like, you know, like your neshamas, our souls up in heaven, and the news comes that a new shopping center is being opened up. Can you imagine our souls going to God and saying, "Oh, please, God, can you send us down to earth? We want to go shopping." Right? "Oh God, please, can you send me down to earth? I want to ride a Harley Davidson." Right? "I want to go see a movie." Right? Ridiculous, right? So when the divine soul is overpowering the animal soul to the point that the divine soul says, "Yes, I'm living in this body, but I'm the driver, I'm the boss." Shalom, shalom. Okay. I am the driver, I am the boss. Okay? And you, body, I need you to, I want to make a bracha. So body, guess what? You're going to eat. I want to give tzedakah. guess what? We're going to go work. We're going to make some money so that I can help some people, right? So when the divine soul is overpowering the body and is in control, right? So then you actually get to experience the desire of the soul to leave and be in union with God. Okay? And that's a natural thing once this level is achieved. And then
this is when when the soul is in charge, then it wants.
Yeah, it always wants to. But I'm just saying, but to experience it, right? You only experience it when your soul is in charge of everything in your life. But otherwise, the way the Gemara describes it, and I'm sure I must have mentioned this phrase more than once, the Gemara describes the imprisonment of the soul in the body in the following way. Ganva apum machtarta rachmana karya. That the thief, as he's breaking and entering, is praying to God. You've heard that before, Malka? Right? That the thief was shot, as he's breaking and entering, he's praying to God. What's he praying for? He's praying for success. Mm-hmm. Whom are you praying to? Hashem. What did Hashem say about stealing?
Do not steal.
He said, don't steal. So what are you doing? What are you doing? God told you don't steal, and you're saying you're stealing. And you're saying not only that, not only am I going to steal, my dear soul, guess what? You're not staying at home reading some holy books. You're coming with me, and you're going to pray that we shouldn't get caught, that we should be successful. That's the way the Gemara describes the imprisonment of the soul in the body, right? So long as the soul is imprisoned in the body, meaning to say that the body, the animal soul is making the decisions and deciding what we're going to do, and the divine soul is just being schlepped along, then you don't get to experience that love for Hashem. Okay? So he says, "Vazochim l'malat ahava rabba zo," those who merit this great level of love, Hem anikaim tzadikim, they are called the righteous ones. Kedichtiv, as it says, Simchu tzadikim b'avaya, righteous ones rejoice with God. Ach lo kol adam zocher lazeh, but not every person merits to achieve this. Ki lazeh tzarich zichru chachom b'ma'od ma'od. For this, you need to have a very clarified material reality. V'gam Torah u'masim tovim harbei, and you also have to have a lot of Torah and a lot of mitzvahs. Lischot leneshama elyona, to merit such a high neshama, shelemala mimadregat ruach v'nefesh, which is higher than the level of ruach and nefesh. Kemo shekatuv b'reshit chochma shar ahava, as is described in the Sefer Reishis Chochmah, at the portal, the chapters dealing with love. Okay? So, what is higher than Ruach and Nefesh? So, Ruach and Nefesh are levels of relating with God, but indirectly. Okay? Higher than that is relating with Hashem directly. Right? So long as you're relating with Hashem indirectly, you're not really experiencing Klot HaNefesh, okay? The expiring of the soul. Now, just to illustrate what it means to be in charge of your body. So, for example, there are people that, that when they sit down to eat, and they go to a restaurant and they read the menu and they say, look at this, look at this, look at this. Now, what should I order? What should I order? This is so good, and so on. So what's motivating the choices? What's motivating the choices is I'm looking for pleasure. I'm hungry and I want pleasure and I want it to taste good and so on and so on. When the Gemara says that when Hillel used to go eat, he used to express himself as he's got something similar to the idea of I've got to go pay rent to my body. My soul lives in my body, right? And if I starve it, I'm not going to be able to live, right? So he would refer to it as I'm going to pay my dues so that I can continue living, right? In other words, he had no interest, whether, as far as he was concerned, it didn't make a difference if the children was burned, if the food was burned or not burned, and so on. He needed nourishment to keep his body going, and that's all he was interested in. His pleasure was learning Torah.
He ate to live, not to.
He ate to live instead of living to eat. Right. Right. Okay. So that's one kind of ahava. And for this kind of ahava, you can't command it. Right? Like Rebbe was talking about how does you can't make it happen. You're either there or you're not. Right? But you can't say, oh, I read about Klot HaNefesh and I'm going to experience it now. No, you're not going to experience it now. And you'll study a lot of Torah. You'll do a lot of mitzvahs, and maybe you'll have such a high level in the Neshama, but if you don't have that high level in the Neshama to experience Klot HaNefesh, you're not going to experience it. You're not going to get away from the traps of being from a lower level in the Neshama. You can't just call up and say, okay, I want to upgrade, right? So concerning this kind of love, it's totally inappropriate for Moshe Rabbeinu to say, La asota, make it happen. Following? You have a question? No? Tomorrow you won't be able to, you'll be able to ask online if you want.
Okay.
But then there's a second kind of love. There's a second kind of loving God that every person is capable of attaining. How? How do you do that? If a person meditates well in the depth of his heart, there are things that when you meditate on them, these things will arouse love in the heart of all of Israel. Hein derech klal, both in general. In other words, the general could be there's a general meditation that anybody, Gentiles can also achieve it. But then there's also another meditation that the author is going to give that is more specific to the Jewish people. So he says that Hein derech klal. So he says that there's the second love. The second kind of love is something that you could achieve and you could make it happen. Understand? He's answering the question already. The question was, La Sota. How could Moshe Rabbeinu say, make it happen, right? And now he's saying, yes, there is a love that you can make it happen. How do you make it happen? Yes? How do you make it happen? By meditating. Meditating on, there are two meditations. One is a general one that everybody could relate to, and one is more specific for the Jewish people. And what's the meditation? Hein derech klal. There's a general meditation which is Kihu chayenu mamash. The general meditation is that Hashem is our actual life source. וכאשר האדם אוהב את נפשו וחייו, and just like a person likes his life, he's in love with his life, right? כן יאהב את Hashem, so too he will love God. כאשר יתבונן וישים אל ליבו, when he meditates and brings it to his heart, כי השם הוא נפשו האמיתית וחייו ממש. When he meditates on the fact that Hashem is his source of life, and Hashem is his true reality. So then he's going to, by meditating on that, he will fall in love with God. As it says, and it says in the Holy Zohar, al pasuk, on the verse, nafshi ibiticha. When you realize that Hashem, you are my nefesh, and so I desire you, that means that will bring out your love for God. So let's go back and just explain a little bit. If I were to give you $5, and I say, here, you can have $5 if you go and sit in this really hot tub. It's like really hot, scalding hot. Would you do it?
No.
No. Why wouldn't you do it? Besides the fact that you're normal, why wouldn't you do it? No, it's simple. Because you like yourself. You like yourself. You don't want to suffer. You don't want to have pain. Right? Okay. Now, so Dr. Rebbe says, who is yourself? Who is that self that you love? And who is it? Who is the self you love? Shaya, who is the self you love?
The self I love is the good self.
Who is it?
It's part of God.
It's your neshama,
My neshama.
right? So in other words,
That's who I want to be.
it's when you say that, when you say I love myself, right? So it's like, like I think the Berditchever once went over to Chassid, or the Kotzker, sounds more as the Kotzker, put his hands on the Chassid's stomach, and he said, Shalom Aleichem Shabbos. Remember?
Yeah.
The Chassid said, Rebbe, that's my stomach. So he says, yeah, but you're always patting your stomach, and you're saying the covered Shabbos. You looks like you're calling your stomach by the name Shabbos. I'm saying Shalom Aleichem Shabbos. So who is the self that you love? Is it your body? Is that yourself? Is that who you are? Put yourself up on a Jewish dating site, Sayu Sinai.
Right.
And who am I? I'm 5'6", 5'3". I have, a beard. I have so much money. I have this, I have that, and that. That's who you are. That's your physical reality, right? So that's who you love. You love, and as a matter of fact, it's a real problem. People, when they get older, they start getting creases, and then they have to go and get themselves Botox treatments and so on to remove the creases, etc. But because they have a hard time, they want to look good, and they love themselves because of the way they looked. And now their body is getting older, right? It's hard for them to face themselves. It's true for a lot of people, for maybe for everyone. So you love yourself. That's good. It's important to love yourself. But what you need to do is you need to meditate on who is my real self. Okay? And when you do that, when you meditate on who is my real self, so who are you going to discover, Malka? You're going to discover my real self is going to shun it, right? Take off, remember we spoke about taking off the layers, right? Peeling off the masks. So after you take off all the masks, I'm a teacher, I'm a this, I'm a that, and so on and so on, you take off all the masks, and what are you left with? You're left with your neshama. So if you read, now, besides, if you don't want this just to be something that you read in the book now, and you don't want it to be just something that we spoke about for 5 minutes, if you want it to become your real reality, that my neshama is my real self, the way to do it is by learning to meditate well, meaning to say like really being able to meditate for lengthy periods of time, and to meditate deeply and frequently, and then you actually come to the realization that my real self is my neshama. Okay? So when I say I love myself, whom am I loving? I'm loving my neshama. Right? Now, if you go further and you say, well, who is the self of your neshama? Who, in other words, the I within the I, my interior I within my external I is my soul. And who is the I of my soul?
Hashem.
You want to say that either with more certainty or don't say it?
Hashem.
Okay, it's Hashem. Right? The I of my soul is Hashem. So when you meditate on that, you basically realize that the self that you love, the deepest self that you love, is actually Hashem.
Anochi.
The Anochi, right? That's the deepest self that you love. Okay? Now that is something that you can bring about. You can make it happen, asota. You can bring it about by learning to meditate and actually doing the meditation. Okay? So that's one. The Alter Rebbe said that there are two lessons in love that relate to that. That's the first one. Okay?
You taught two.
You
already taught two. So what is the...
No. We're talking about the tzaddikim. We're talking now. Yes, you're right. The tzaddikim is one thing, right? But you're right. We're talking two meditations to reach this, to bring out this love. So I love my life, and who is the life of my life? Is Hashem. So I love Hashem, right? But I just said that. Didn't experience it, right? To experience it, it requires a significant amount of deep and frequent meditation. Okay? Okay, so we'll stop here. I guess you'll have to see the rest will continue in Yusuf Hashem.
You had this book out.